Okay. Oh, everything is breaking. I hit go and everything is breaking. Jeez. Well, I think once the overlay comes back, maybe it'll work. I'm not sure what happened to my overlay here. But hopefully that comes back here in a second. Let me maybe try turning that off and on again. I don't know why everything broke the second I clicked transition. Oh, pieces are coming back. I don't know why the music's breaking either. I don't know. Everything. I clicked go and everything decided, nah, now is the time to break. Why is... I did. You had no... Ah, there it is. It's back. You didn't have any problems tonight, Paul, so I decided I'd take them all. I'd take all the problems. But good evening, everybody. Glad to have you all here tonight. Hope you all have been having a good evening. Paul, I know you had a nice stream earlier, just before this. Some good work on the Winnie P. MLWs. Still got a couple things here that I'm finishing, moving around and cleaning up. But tonight, I will be working on, well, as you can see, it's just a frame right now. But this is the frame for my Balfour and Colucci Creek Southern SD40-2, number 1700. Oh, I forgot to check on this Stream Elements thing. I don't know why Stream Elements bot is here, but I don't know if he does anything. So, someone remind me to check on that later to see what he does. But, so this is what we're going to be working on tonight. Let me pull up the picture. Thank you, Garrett, for sharing the Discord. Yeah, Scary Bot coming for sure. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know what the deal with that thing is, but it's you know, it sure exists. I think it has something to do with what I use to make my overlay, because technically my overlay is like a web, like linked thing. So I don't know. But in any case. Alright, let me pull up this picture here so you can stop looking at just a workbench with some random little bits on it. But while I'm doing that, how is everyone doing tonight? Hopefully doing well. What's everyone been up to? Let me open. Also, I think my audio looks like it's good, but if someone could just confirm that for me, that would be nice. So I've got a few things to share. I want to quickly jump into what the SD40-2 project is, but then I've got some things to share first. And then, once that's done, we'll come back, because as you can see, we're currently in the midst of soaking these, so that way I can get the existing paint off. Which was a little hard for me to do, to be honest. And we'll get it. Audio is flawless. Perfect. Thank you, Paul. The one thing that does work right now. But yeah, this was a little hard for me to dip this into the alcohol here, and we'll get into that in a second once I get these images pulled up. But it's been sitting in there for about half an hour, 40 minutes, which should be enough to be able to start pulling things up, but we'll let it soak a little further while I keep sharing. Paint schemes. That's what I want. B&CCS. There's no background music. How about now? I think that should have fixed the background music issue. No? Oh.
Because I sweat a lot, I went to men's
Oh, shush. Now there's no background because it's... Okay. There. Maybe that'll be a little better. Why can't I find the right image here? There we go. I think that's it. Oh, now you hear it. Okay, cool. Alright, so. What do I need to turn off? Turn off that. So I can do this. Okay. So this is what I had before I slapped the unit in some alcohol here, which is B&CCS SD40-2 6858. This is a very special unit to me because this Kato SD40-2 is the first locomotive I ever painted for my railroad. This is like the third iteration of painting it, but this was the first thing I ever did for the B&CCS. So you can see it's kind of a hodgepodge of whatever decals I had on hand. And it's, you know, it's not bad, but this was the last locomotive that I painted by hand. I painted this one, and I painted the SD35, then I painted my F units, and then I went back and repainted this, and then I went back and repainted my F units, and then I repainted this a final time and decaled it. And I believe that was the last thing I ever did hand-painted for rolling stock. Oh, jeez. Hopefully this song is a little less psychedelic tunnely. But this is what we had. And it meant a lot to me. The 6858 came from the fact that this model was originally painted for the CNW. It was no. This one. No, this one. Yes. It was CNW 6858. As you can see right here. This is what we started with, and as you can kind of tell with the shape of the colors, this model really influenced how I came up with the shapes of everything for my paint scheme. With, you know, the cab being a separate color from the main body, and the sill having that same color as the cab, and the roof and everything. It really heavily influenced me. The only thing that I did was swap the colors, and I added a stripe along the roof line and along the sill line. But other than that, the first time I painted this unit, I actually just didn't even strip the unit first. I painted directly on top of the existing colors, and that was what led me to this scheme. So it's actually one of the earliest videos on my channel, which I recommend you do not go watch because it's kind of hard to watch. But one of the earlier videos on this channel is, you know, me showing off the first iteration of this paint job. And I was and still am very happy with how it looks. But it is time to bring it into a more modern look, to make it look even better, to make it more accurate, to make it more in line with the rest of what I have as far as my rolling stock. There are some things like the fact that the orange sill stripe does not continue all the way across, the fact that there's this orange stripe that's very wide along the cabs, the nose side. The fact that the decals are all sorts of, you know, mismatched and hodgepodged of whatever I had together. Exactly, Adam. The goal now is to make this shine. And part of that, which came before now, is something that Paul actually helped me out quite a bit with, which is kind of developing a story for this unit. Because when I first got into, start very, very early inklings of the B&CCS, I still at the time wanted to model out west. I thought I was going to model like the UP, basically. So the B&CCS was going to be some fictional, small, short line subsidiary of the UP. And most of my power was going to be UP stuff, and with a couple of these mixed in. So big 6 out, and it was going to be modern day. So big 6-axle power was the name of the game. And an SD40-2 for a smaller subsidiary road would have made sense. As I developed my railroads history, I came to realize how much I like A, the Northeast, and B, 4-axle power. And so combining all of that together, every other unit at this point on my roster is 4-axle power. This unit and its sister, which I don't have a model of yet, but I have in the roster, are the only 2 6-axle units on the roster. They're the only 2 6-axles on property. And it doesn't really make sense to have them around other than if I have a specific story for them. So I started to think about that when Paul came to me and came to the idea of, well, what if...
It's the poll for
Oh,
Will you sign our petition demanding Congress to do more to prevent school shootings?
Advertising. But Paul came to me with the idea of, because by this point I realized, the SD40-2s don't really fit. So I was like, well, the railroad bought a couple and then they didn't really like them, so they sold them off. Paul came to me with the idea of, well, when they sold them off, what if they went to Paul's freelance and we kind of developed the story from there. So I started to really dive into the story. So because I, started off with these as CNW units, and Paul was looking for some very specific things that he could model to make them, visually match the story. I decided that the B&CCS, when they were getting their 40-2s, tacked on to a CNW order, and they will have all the spotting features of CNW units, including a nose gong bell, a roof-mounted beacon light, and the lever style handbrake, which is what this model has, although it doesn't have either of the other 2 features. So, I kind of continued developing the story from there, and 6858 being a C&W number doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really fit with any of the other roster numbers that I have. So I decided, well, when they bought it, instead of adding on to the 700 series, which was the EMD units on the B&CCS roster at the time, for a 6-axle they would change it from a 700 series to a 1700 series, with the initial 1 denoting 6-axle instead of 4-axle, in case they decided they liked them and wanted to continue buying more. But they decided they didn't track very well over the Maybrook. They didn't, they didn't do well with the some of the sharp turns on the Maybrook, and so instead they bought them in 75. Bought them in 75, sold them by 1983 up to the Genesee, Wyoming Transportation Company, and in return the GWT sent down C424 and an RS11 as well as some cash. So that's the story of this unit, and that gave me the motivation to start to return to it. And since I wanted it to have all those spotting features, it also gives me an opportunity to start trying to super detail something. So this is going to be my first super detailed unit. So this is what we had as the paint scheme that I cobbled together, in my early times of modeling, and this is not. Well, this is the paint scheme, but this is my behind the scenes moment here. This is my B&CCS folder with all of my paint schemes and developments and things. I opened the wrong file, opened the Photoshop file, which is the base for the color, which is right there. How much cash does GWT owe me? We'll talk behind the scenes, Paul. Don't worry about it. No. But so this is what I came up with color-wise. $5. Yeah, about $3.50. But so this is the color scheme I came up with. Orange sill, you know, that nice orange stripe along the roof line, and maroon and the blue. So very similar to what I came up with, but just a little bit cleaner, a little bit more unified with the rest of the fleet. And once Adobe Illustrator loads, which it's really thinking about, we will be able to see what the paint scheme that I've developed for it, as far as the lettering and the numbering and all of that is concerned. And it is a little different than most of the B&CCS stock, because I wanted it to kind of stand out just a little bit, and have some easy to model features for Paul, because Paul's idea is to kind of have some of the B&CCS stuff breaking its way through the GWT paint by the 2000s. So this is a not responding Illustrator tab, and there is... Wait a minute. This is the final iteration of what the numbering is going to look like, the lettering rather. So we're going to have B&CCS SD40-2 underneath the cab window. We're going to have 1700 underneath the radiators in the back. B&CCS Diamond centered on the long hood. And I even went so far as to design a GM build plate, EMD build plate for the SD40-2. And actually,
The military kept this energy compound classified for decades.
I need
And
to
now I'm using it
make the ad be quiet, but I need to change this to 0660. SD40-350. Let's see if Illustrator will work with me to do this. No, it's because it's... oh, wait. Here we go. There we go. 0660. That's the class. So there's my build plate. There's the paint scheme that we're going to put on this unit. And we are zooming way out for some reason. So we're also going to have, I don't know why it's not in this drawing, but there is a beacon light at the rear of the cab that we're going to add in. And we've got the gong. Nope. Go back. We've got the gong on the nose. I also added some safety striping to the plow, and it'll also be on the pilot and the rear pilot. I'll have just some visibility striping. And we'll say that this was kind of a test unit for the visibility striping, because in the 1980s, after the year 1980, the B&CCS ditched all their roof beacons and swapped everything over to high-vis striping on the nose and the rear to be able to move forward, to continue being able to model different things and improve. So I can model progression of time on my railroad. So that'll be the new visibility thing until the mid 90s, when they participated in the testing program that the FRA ran and added their ditch lights. So, Paul, at some point I'm going to have to talk to you about how the heck to model ditch lights in HO scale, because the GP9M that I'm going to start working on eventually is going to need some ditch lights. So that'll be that'll be a bridge to cross at a future point. This project has enough firsts for me that we'll start here. But yeah, maybe the Tree Fitty series. There you go. But yeah. So this is kind of where we're at. And while I let this locomotive soak a little more, we're gonna jump to a couple weekends ago when Paul and I were up on the Conway Scenic at the Northeast Region Convention of the NMRA. Yes. Here we go. So we'll start here. So we went to the Conway Scenic. It had a really fun time. It was a beautiful train ride. We started at the North Conway Station and made our way up through Crawford's Notch to the town of Crawford's, up at the top of the notch, and took the bus back to the convention hotel after seeing the Flying Yankee, which these are some... there's the engine compartment in the Flying Yankee, and there's the view out the observation lounge on the rear. But focusing on Conway Scenic, there's our power, Conway Scenic 216, which is an ex Norfolk and Western high hood Jeep 35. There's a couple other Jeeps, 255 and I think 253, maybe? Can't tell from this angle. As well as the Bluebird Jeep 1751, B&M 1751 back there. But the North Conway Station was beautiful. 252? Okay, thank you, Joe. But the station was beautiful. Oh, there you go. There's 252. And there's 1741. And there's one Paul Stamp examining his photograph. Caught in the act. Oh, that's funny. Another couple shots of our power. There's the front end. These are some pictures at the Conway Model Railway Museum. Or Conway Model Railroad Club, rather. That's a nice models there. New Hampshire Central 360, a GE 44 tonner. A couple photos of the last remaining F9s in service, or in a functional state, I think is what it was. Or maybe the last remaining B&M F9s. I don't remember. It was an A and a B. Or no, it's an A and an A. Yeah, it's an A and an A. Central Vermont, what I thought was a caboose at first when I was taking the picture, and then I realized, no, this is a flanger, which is pretty neat, because I was wondering why there's no platform for the brake crew to ride while they're on the caboose, but it's because it's a flanger. So that's a neat piece of equipment there. There's 4266 in all of her glory. This is probably the best angle I could have gotten of her, just because, as you can see, there's trucks and cars and an RV and stuff all around her. So yeah, I think you're right, Garrett. You're right. I think that what these are the last remaining Boston and Maine F units that are still around. Now that I'm thinking about it. Here's Conway, the North Conway turntable and roundhouse. Good evening, Sean. Going through some photos of my time at the Conway Scenic Railway with Paul and a bunch of other folks from the Northeast Region Convention of the NMRA. Some neat stuff here. I think this right here is a car off of the circus train. I think that's a circus train, World's Greatest Show decal on that car, which is pretty neat. Paul finding his good friend the Lightning Stripes as I think it's a Jeep 9 if I'm not mistaken, and Paul, you can correct me on this, but there's a Finger Lakes Jeep 9, I think it is, it's either 7 or 9, that wound its way up to Conway Scenic, and Paul managed to find it and say hello. Partway through our trip up the notch, we got off of the train and had a photo run by, which was very nice. And here's some of the beautiful scenery up in Crawford Notch. It is a truly gorgeous time of year. This is, and like I was saying in Paul's stream, this is the time of year that I really want to model, where the trees are starting to change. You got a definitive crisp nature to the air. It's late September. It's just my favorite time of year. And these photos really inspired me to when I pull up my track, I might actually just redo the whole board. Leave the structure, but redo all of the scenery. Just take off the buildings because I do want to make it a little more accurate to my early fall time period. But some the beautiful mountains up in New Hampshire. And now we are waiting for the photo run by. There's 216 rounding the curve. I was pretty happy with some of these shots. I think this one here might be my favorite. I like the framing that I got with the mountain peaks up above. But I got some pretty nice shots here, a couple of them. Unfortunately, we were right in the shadow side because of where the track is. But some shots of the undersides of the cars. And 216 running around the train once we got up to Crawford. I didn't take a ton of photos on my camera on the train ride. I took a bunch on my phone, which maybe I'll go through here in a moment. Oh, there's Paul again. There's the Crawford station, which is a nice little station. Now it's a gift shop for some mountaineering society or something. But it's a cute little station. Oh, these are all videos I took. We'll skip some of this for now. But anyone who likes D&H, that'll be good for you to see. Let's see, what's some of the videos that I took? These are all at the Flying Yankee. Closet Branch, welcome in. Glad to have you. I want to walk down here to the end of the train. Ray, good to see you as well. I know, Paul. Me too. So one thing both Paul and I missed is we were so busy looking at the equipment outside and looking at the Model Railroad Club and everything that we did not go into the North Conway station. We took some photos of the outside of it, but didn't get inside, and it was frustrating. But we unfortunately lost a good 10-15 minutes stuck in traffic on the way from here at the Flying Yankee over to North Conway. So, not much we could have done about that, but let's get past all the Flying Yankee stuff. Here's 216. She's making up the train. In a beautiful Maine Central Harvest Gold. We were in an ex-Ohio Central car, which is, I believe, this car right here. The car right after Leslie Ann. This maroon car here. Yes, this was our car, so we were the second car of the train. It was a nice car. It was a good ride. I'll put all this stuff together into a video and put it up on the channel at some point in the next couple weeks. I'm just gotta slowly pull everything together so that way it's all congruous. But that's not a bad idea, Paul. We see if we can make a run up during the convention next year. That's something worth thinking about. See, maybe on Sunday or something at the end of the convention, run north and see if we can hit a couple layouts on the way or on the way back or something. That's something to look into. We'll be in touch. We'll keep on that. Here's the museum, or not the museum, the club, which is pretty nice. And a nice little layout going here. Here's running past to get ready for the run by when we were up in the notch.
We gotta coordinate here.
There's running past us after the run by. True. Yeah, Paul gets in every one of my shots somehow. It's strange how that works. But there we go. There's some of that beautiful scenery.
Cut. You'll see Route 302 on the right, having climbed up almost even with the track. Saco River is a culvert directly underneath Route 302 at that point. The upstream
Was a truly beautiful train ride, and I was so glad. I missed a couple. I missed some really nice clinics to make it to this train ride, but man, was it worth it for the scenery and for the time. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, Ray, your Ray did your name did make it on the screen, so maybe you're not so bad. Every time I thought you were getting... you were just getting in it. To be fair, I was trying to work around you. You had the nice window seat. I was just trying to get glimpses of what was on the train ride. But yeah, so that was just some glimpses of my time up at the Conway Scenic. I have a lot more on my phone and stuff, but we won't get into that tonight. We will get into that in the video itself when I get around to that. So let's go ahead and get to work on the model now. Ray, it was a pretty long run. It was probably an hour and a half, hour 45 from North Conway all the way up the notch. I don't think it's the longest run that they do, because they said they could have gone a little further, but the station that they normally like is the furthest station away is now a private restaurant. So we wouldn't, and they had an event, so we wouldn't have been able to get off at the Fabian's. Thank you, John. Fabian's is now a private restaurant. They were having an event, so we would have had to get off in the parking lot instead of on the platform or anything. So they decided to cut the ride a little short to Crawford's instead, but 100% worth it. Even having missed a couple of the clinics that I was hoping to get to, without a doubt worth it. It was a ton of fun. It was a beautiful ride, and I loved it. A new affinity for the Mountain Division, agreed. I did not know much about the Mountain Division or the mech or anything like that until I got up there, and boy, am I, if I restarted right now, I don't know if I would. I might have had to pick the Mountain Division or something, at least with Harvest Gold, which I am thinking about ways to get Harvest Gold onto the B&CCS, so we'll see how that goes. Timing is right as far as the story goes. The railroad picking up some new power, some secondhand power in the mid '80s. You know, this is the early to mid '80s. Time is right for, you know, when the mech was going into Guilford. Well, maybe they were looking to offload some of the power. I don't know. It's certainly possible. Man, fortunately, I'm about to start to try and go toothbrush to get, you know, I went to grab my toothbrush to get my, you know, my model all cleaned up from the paint, and well, that's a problem. So Harvest Gold patches is, we'll see. I gotta look into some things, but 4-axle Jeeps, it's the right type of locomotive. Alright, so as I'm just gonna have to use the head, unfortunately, here, because, well, you know, I got nothing else to work with here. But as I brush this off, you'll notice some remnants, some important remnants of things here. So the weathering is obviously very, very heavy. And you'll notice, don't know if you can see it on the stream very well, but there's some metallic elements to this paint. And that's because this is the last locomotive I did with my old paint mix, which I mixed a whole bunch of right when I was kind of starting off and just kept in a bottle. And that, for some reason, I think it was just because that was the light blue that I had, but when I decided I liked the light blue that I had as a base to start the mixture had metallic bits in it. It was like a metallic, like Bahamas blue or something like that. That was my starting point, and well, that means that there's metallic flakes in this paint. So that's another one of the reasons why I'm not too sad about getting rid of this. It is sad seeing this go, but it's gonna be so worth it when I am able to get the new one, or the new paint on here. Garrett says no. Garrett says I can't do that. I mean, I've probably happened for Guilford, so. Not supposed to brush that hard. Yeah, I think it was just because I've used this brush for years and years now. It's just, you know, having used it again and again and again, that spot maybe had a defect in it or something, and it just cracked. That's the hope. You know, my story basically goes that by the late 70s, early 80s, the B&CCS is actually doing fairly well off. Doing about as good as a Northeastern road could do in that era. So the hope is at least some of the power will have a better life than it did in the Guilford systems. At least up until Pan Am. I do have... Oh, you were saying... I thought you were talking about the mech. No, yeah, you're talking about the brush. Yeah, that's a problem. What on earth? Why are there so many advertisements on this video of music? There never used to be ads on my music. I might have to find new music between this week and next. I would say, Paul, that I would consider absorbing the mech, but I don't. I just think that's a little too big. I'm just not sure if that's feasible. And I mean, I could just say it, and it doesn't really affect much. Of course, by that point, then, by the early 2000s, the B&CCS is a much larger road. By that point, it's substantial regional railroad, good size class too. So I don't know if that is really what I want to model. I do kind of like that, keeping it a fairly small regional. Well, I don't know. It's already pretty big. Yeah, well, I could have, because I do have the line up to Pittsfield, Mass already in the story. So if I think there's a B&M line out of Pittsfield, if I'm not mistaken, which I might be. That's the part of the railroad that I don't know a ton about, is the northern part of the system. But I think there was a B&M line into Pittsfield, and then I could, if I had that line, I could go from there to the mech. But I don't know. It's something I would have to really look at hard and just make some decisions about. The story, if anyone is interested, yes. If you navigate to my website, go to the About page. I have a full written out history of everything if you're really interested. On the home page, though, I also have a shorthand history, just some of the key years, the key events in the story. Thank you for sharing that, Garrett. Get myself to Portland, yeah. But the reason I would say I would maybe even think about that and look at it, because then it would be lots of harvest gold. But yeah, I just don't know. That would turn. I mean, by that point, the B&CCS might, in order to get all the way up there and everything, B&CCS might become a full, like, Class 1 by that point, so I don't know. That might be a little too big for my liking. So, I don't know. It's something I've considered. It's something I might look at, but a much more likely thing for the B&CCS to take over would be the O&W in the 50s. Right at the end of the O&W's life, it could make sense for me to have the O&W right-of-way become, part of the B&CCS system. North and west. I think that might be a little bit more. Don't tell Brandon. That's something that I have given a little bit of thought to, like a little more serious thought. Just because I already have Maybrook. And it would give the line life beyond 1950, whatever it was, 54, 55, whenever the O&W went out of business. Or 58, I think it was. But I don't know. I'm kind of happy with the story as it is right now. There's a couple things that need to change, like I need to refigure how the railroad gets to Newburgh, because the more I looked at the Erie's Newburgh branch, which was basically how the B&CCS got to, well, basically how the B&CCS got to Newburgh, like the city of Newburgh, and that would have been the Balfour Railroad. In its early history, was it had a fictional line that connected into the Erie Newburgh branch, effectively.
When I showed my colleagues the brain scans,
But it didn't really
couldn't believe their eyes. This natural
took the
concept
that's
I've
true.
never seen before. Hi, my name.
But I don't know. But yeah, I need to refigure how I'm getting to Newburgh, because the more I looked at the way I connected to the Erie Newburgh branch, the more I realized it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. The routings. It makes a lot more sense, especially given the time period when this would have happened, which is the late 1800s. It would make a lot more sense for my railroad to have built a dedicated line from the fictional town of Balfour, which is just west of Newburgh, down the hill into the city of Newburgh on the north side of town as opposed to the south side of town, and maybe get some trackage rights over the west shore just from the connecting point into the city. But I don't know. I need to map that out. But there we have a fairly clean shell. I'll put it back in there just to give it a little more soaking time to get some of these last little bits up. We'll jump to the sill and the battery boxes. What time is it? Oh, it's 9:47. I'm actually making some pretty good time here. I wasn't sure how long this would all take. Huh. Taking this apart makes me realize there's still some hints of this locomotive's heritage. This model's heritage right there. On the back side of the pilot, you can see some of the CNW green still in there. It never came off, despite being stripped like 2 or 3 times now. That Kato paint is freaking resilient. It's such a pain to get to strip a Kato locomotive. Jeez. Oh, there's a little bit of green right there too. I was a little bit worried that I wasn't going to let these soak for long enough. But the fact that it was already acrylic paint, I don't think I used a primer at the time. And to be fair, a lot of what I do now, I just use a base layer of paint as a primer. I really should start properly priming my stuff before I paint it. But the fact that it doesn't have a primer makes it very easy to clean off. Spanning east onto the Housatonic trackage. Spanning east on what's IRL Housatonic trackage would be. What part of the Housatonic are you talking about, I guess? Because a lot of what's now the Housatonic is already owned by the B&CCS. I may just be having a brain fart moment here, but maybe I just have to look at a map. But I'm not entirely sure what track you're talking about, if I'm being perfectly honest. Yeah, because the B&CCS, you gotta remember, the B&CCS proper really goes from Maybrook to Danbury and then up to Pittsfield. That's what's owned by, until 1980. That's what's owned by the B&CCS, and then the rest of the New Haven exists as is, basically, until 1980 when it's merged into the B&CCS. Which makes it, really, the B&CCS is a rather large railroad, or a rather large system. It's definitely the primary player in southern New England. Certainly, all between the B&CCS and Conrail, those are the two big southern, New England railroads, really. And I will admit, I definitely do, with a lot of these lines, I definitely still need to get a lot more into the weeds to really understand what I'm talking about. But I have a fairly good understanding of the main part of the railroad. I just need to kind of figure out some details. Didn't contemplate that the first time. Oh, I need to figure out Bloomfield Central's interchange with CSX at Lyons via Newark. Taking into account PTC stuff. Yeah, that's one of the benefits of modeling my era. I don't really got to think about PTC. I don't got to really think about ditch slides. I don't got to think a lot of things that modern modelers have to figure out, or even future modelers like you, Garrett, I have to think about that. I really kind of just don't. What? Uh-oh. Where did the number... Oh, is that the number board? There it is. Okay. I thought I lost a number board. What shenanigans you'd play to keep costs down and work to be compliant. Where did that number board go? There it is. For a minute there, I really thought I lost a number board and I was going to be very upset, but there it is, covered in pen ink because for some reason, or Sharpie ink or something, because for some reason I decided to blank it out. So I don't know. I think it was I forgot to take it out when I was painting, and I got paint on it, and then I said, well, I'll just paint over the whole thing, and then it was, I don't know. I probably could have gotten some fresh number boards when I was ordering all the other parts that I needed, the Kato parts. Maybe I even should have. But I think the ones that I have serve their purpose fine, and I'm not too worried about it because for these, because these are not lit number boards on this model, and I don't know personally how to really build lit number boards. Maybe it's something for me to look into. In fact, it probably is something I will look into. Holy crap. No way. There's no way that's going to show up on stream. But underneath the Sharpie ink and the paint, I might just have to take a picture of this. from my and put it up on the Discord server. Maybe if I do this. Come on, focus, camera. I know you can do it. You've done it before. I need a better backdrop. Hold on. I need to. I really want to show this now because this is wild. What can I use? No, can't use that. I don't just have any paper around that I could just use. Oh, well, this might work. No, there's just no way you're gonna be able to see it on stream. It's just not gonna happen. But on the number boards, I can still faintly make out the original 6858 from the from the CNW number. That's wild that it's survived. Well, I guess it's not that wild, but it's just, I don't know. That's neat to me that I can still read it under there. Probably the same on the rear number boards too, which I actually completely forgot to deal with. I also forgot to take out the rear light fixture here, but that's okay because I have all new glazing, so I'm not too worried about it being fogged by the alcohol. Come on. I think this is why I didn't get this light fixture out. It's because it's being a pain in the rear. Come on. Trying to think, I'm trying not to break it. So Garrett's thinking about a cab car of some description. Otherwise, we're looking at a full crossover and all the PTC. Things that come with switches onto the main, yeah. You can either transfer caboose with a 1500 cab on it, something like 202R. I mean, that'd be a super interesting thing to model. So, go for it, I guess. Why not? That sounds like fun. Now I'm just trying to get this freaking glass piece out. Come on, you son of a gun. Is there some sort of trick that I'm missing on how to get this light piece out? Oh, hold on. I think there it is. I got it. Okay, good. Now I can finish scrubbing this end piece down. This end of the locomotive down, rather. Only thing you're missing... The thing is, you're only missing the caboose. You have spare cabs, so you don't know what might happen. The idea is there's no way to run around the train as a whole in the Newark area. And doing some parts is labor intensive, so this may not be an unreasonable solution. Yeah, it sounds like a good solution to me then. Allows the crews to get the work done without having to back and forth and do the job in parts. And it's a hell of a fun thing to model. Like you were talking about the Ringling Brothers train earlier. I don't know if anyone knows of the Ringling Brothers, the circus train at HO scale or whatever it is. What's his name? John something. I can't remember the guy's name. But he modeled like a 30-car circus train in HO with all the custom cars and everything. It's a piece of work, that's for sure. It's a thing of beauty. He brings it to Springfield every year and runs it on the Dry Hill layout. Like 3 times a day or something. Finger like 202R is a real example of an odd caboose thing that did exist, yeah. I mean, there's some form of prototype for just about everything, so... There's that. There's the cab. So we have the handrails, which I'll do. So I'm at Springfield. Need to talk to him about. Let's see. He has a YouTube channel as well. I think it's like Circus Train and HO Scale or something like that. It's a great channel. He brings the train to all sorts of clubs all around. But he's a really John Rezuk. That's his name, or Rezuk, or something along those lines. I think he said he lives in the Worcester area. Or maybe he was living in the Worcester area when he decided to start modeling it. I don't know. I remember something about Worcester. There's some connection between him and Worcester in my mind, and I don't remember what it is. But yeah, he's a really friendly guy. And he's super open to chatting. So this year at Springfield, if you want to just chat with him about it, he'll be more than happy to talk. Find a Conrail OCS model that's nailed down the paint color for that project. Found a few where the color they're using is kept a secret. Well, that stinks. Yeah, I hope you can find the right, someone who's willing to share. There's that CNW green, because it's molded it's molded green plastic. It's between Pullman and Brunswick, but it'd be nice to not have to trial and error it. Yeah. Yeah, trial and error, while it does get you the right color eventually, can be a real freaking pain. And you can wind up wasting quite a bit of paint, which is frustrating. Especially since paint is not cheap. It's not expensive per se, but it's not cheap. That's for sure. Alright. Once I get this done, what can we do tonight? You know what we can do tonight? Is we can prep the nose for the gong bell and maybe even install it. Because most of these detail parts need to get on this power before painting happens. The only thing that's going to wait until after paint is going to be the, what are they called? Beacon light. The beacon light, it has to wait till after. That way I don't paint over the lens. Excuse me. Okay. And now the fuel tank. Yeah, I definitely need to get a good primer. I think the Tamiya primer is, I think, what most people recommend nowadays, if I'm not mistaken. Either Tamiya or Mr. whatever, Mr. Primer or Mr. Surface or whatever it is. So if you guys have if you guys, you know, Paul or Garrett, you know, or anyone, if you guys have a definitive, you know, primer that you use and it works well for you, especially on slippery plastics, be good to know. Don't get you started on beacon light. Don't get me started on the freaking beacon light. Although, to be fair, you know, as I did last week on stream, I was trying to put the decoder into that B&CCS Jeep 9. Well, got the decoder in. I got, you know, all the lights working. I got everything up and running, and then I went to start trying to, you know, tighten the wires down and, you know, get it to fit in the shell, and I couldn't get it to fit in the shell, so I take it off, and I would tighten the wires down more, and I would tape wires down, and, like, lights stopped working, and then I had to resolder things, and I think I burnt out, or broke, I think, 9 or 10 different LEDs in the process of trying to get these freaking lights installed, and it was never the beacon light. The beacon light was never the problem. The beacon light worked fine the whole time. The LED for it. It was always the front headlight that just kept busting. So, I don't know. I put that aside. That's on pause for a good long while until I can chillax. You know what? That's something else we can do tonight. While... let's take a look into where the auxiliary lighting functions are on this decoder. This is a Digitrax something or other. Very, very technical, I know. I need to replace this. This is the speaker that I have in this. I need to replace this, you know, open this up more and put a sugar cube or something in here. Or maybe a couple of iPhone speakers or something, but this thing just sounds so tinny. Here, let me see if I can put it on the tracks here and Oh, let me put the this in there. That way, it at least has some baffle. That's big part of the problem. Also, is I don't have any baffle on the speaker here. But okay, let's do that. Pause the music. Let's bring the speaker in, or the microphone in close. And let's power on my B&CCS system. Motive. What? Why aren't you? Oh, that's why you aren't. It's because one of the wipers fell out. It's like, why is it not starting up? It normally starts up right on power. You know, right on track power. All right, let's see. What is people saying? Same with the bus. Paused. Plus designing the decals. Yeah. When you have other things to do on the project, it makes it at least somewhat easier. But with that Jeep 9, literally the only thing I have left to do is get the decoder finished installing. And then just finish zipping it closed. 2 in the spare car, now 1 in the bus, and you've replaced the 1 in the bus. Oh, jeez. What are the Arco, Bloomfield Central, Jeep 40, on its 5th LED for the beacon. So I may just model it as busted. There you go. There's an answer for you. All right, let's see. Can I get you to power up? I may need to put the walkway on here. The rear number board swapped, so those need to be swapped back. Also, a blown speaker that needs to be replaced. Yeah, speakers can be problematic, I'm sure. This is the only locomotive I've ever installed sound into. And it's, well, kind of sucks. Because it was a relatively cheap decoder. Come on. Turn on, you dang thing. Do I need to clean this track? No. Let me do this, that way you can actually see where I'm at. What the heck is going on here? This locomotive works, I know that. Can't tell me otherwise. Oh. Pfft. I'm dumb. Well, I'm not dumb, but wasn't paying attention. I didn't put the, Hey, there we go. Now we're getting some response. Well, maybe not. There we go. All right. Reset. This is the sound in this. It sucks. Needs scale sound systems. I wish they made things for N-scale decoders. At some point, he had a thing on that said N-scale coming soon, but I don't know if that's even something that's happening anymore. So it would be wonderful. I could also see if there's a scale sound systems speaker that I could find a way to fit in the you know, fit into the... If I could find a way to fit a scale sound system into here or on this back shelf, even if I need to do a little bit of modification to the frame, I might be able to make something work. But I just have to look at all their speaker sizes and figure out what, if anything, will fit. Because I know they have some of the best, you know, obviously some of the best speakers out there right now. But they got nothing designed for N scale. So. But anyways, alright, let's do this first, because this is something I can do right now. Let's just swap the light shields for the cab. Eventually I need to get a new truck. That truck is just, you know, it works, it fits, it holds on, but it's just really not ideal. Because on occasion it'll just let go like that, like it did there. There we go. Yeah, I need to get a new SD40-2 truck. I also need to clean off those side frames. When I was first painting this, I thought, oh, that would be cool. It's all blue all the way down to the railheads. Yeah, it's not very realistic, though. ESU 5342 is what you're using. Okay. Smallest you need to have is 6 by 16 by 30. Do I have anything that has millimeters on it right here? Not right here. So now let me... 9 by 6 by 3, and is that... I'm presuming that's millimeters, Adam. Millimeters to inches. So what am I looking at here? What's those numbers? 6 by 16. 6 mil. It's about a 1/4 inch. 16 mils, about 5/8. And 30. It's a little over. It's like 1 1/4-ish. Alright. What did I say? So, really what I'm interested in is the 16 by 30. Oh, 7, not 6. That's okay. I'm presuming what you have there is height. Yeah, Paul, what I'm assuming is height by length by width. Or width by length, or whatever. 6 millimeters deep, 16 millimeters on the short side, and 30 millimeters on the long side is what I'm assuming that is, Paul. And, you know, if not, then you can correct me, but... So, 16, I said, was like 5/8. That might just fit. What's 30? I said 1 1/4. Yeah, I don't know if that'll fit in the... The problem is, I assume... Well, Paul, is that just the raw speaker, or does that include a baffle? Because if that's just the raw speaker, I don't really want to be doing that anyways, my assumption. I don't know. I know very little about speakers, but I know you're supposed to have a baffle of some description. I don't know if that would fit anywhere. Even if that does include the baffle, I don't know if that would fit anywhere on this locomotive. the 9x6x3, maybe even the 9x16x3. That's the whole shebang. Okay, it might. I'd have to do some work to get it to fit, but it might just be able to. But I don't know. It would involve losing a fair bit of weight, which I don't really love. So the TCS or the not TCS, the ESU speaker is probably going to be my best bet. Maybe a pair of them, because I think there's enough space that I could do a pair of them. One in the fuel tank and one on the rear shelf. One right here, and one in the fuel tank. That might be able to do. That might be able to work if I do two of the little ones. I don't know. I have to do some measuring. But I'm not satisfied with this speaker, and honestly, I might not even be satisfied. I'm going to try a new speaker first, because that's obviously a lot cheaper than a whole new new decoder. But I might have to do the decoder, because Digitrack sound is not fantastic, if I'm being honest. The files they've got. It's not the most not the most options, and the options they have are not the best. For any future sound installs, I will probably be doing ESU. But this one was fairly early on. I did this. But it is. It was the only reason I went with the TCS, or not the TCS. I wish it was a TCS. TCS has great motor control. This has okay motor control, if that. The reason I went with the Digitrax is because it's drop-in. And that's basically the only reason I went with the Digitrax, because it was the minimal amount of work I could do to put sound in this locomotive. It just barely fits your P42. You have to shave the frame some. See, that worries me, because the P42 is full body, you know, full width, whereas the SD40-2 has the walkways. So that makes me think I might actually be only able to fit one in the fuel tank. I don't know. It's something I gotta look into. I plan on it, Paul, which is why I'm kind of thinking I might do some things like I might do custom number boards with, you know, to make them lighted, but I have to look into what that is going to involve. I might do, what else might I do? MU cables. I'll probably do some MU cables. I might do some custom. I want to do. I might look into doing custom handrails, because the Kata ones are a little bit on the thick side. But I would have to make a jig for that, and I've never built a jig for anything yet, which is important for me to, a skill for me to do, is to be able to build a jig. I know I want to do that, but I don't know. What I might do is I might try before cutting, you know, before getting rid of the handrails on this or something. I might try, you know, making a jig and building some handrails and just seeing how they turn out, and then going from there. But based on what when I was talking with Drew James and Bill Brown and Ed O'Rourke, the more 100% scratch built stuff, the easier it is for them to justify scoring it high, even if it's really clean work. They just really don't care as much about stuff that's, you know, kit built or kit bashed or you know, parts out of a bag. They care much more. They put much more weight on the scratch built parts, which kind of stinks. It's kind of unfortunate. Because, you know, there still is a lot of modeling work that has to go in to get parts out of the bag to look good. But at the same time, I also do get it because it's all about modeling. But, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a little bit frustrated about my experience with the depot build and how little feedback I got on it or the boxcar or anything, but I'm just a little bit frustrated with the NMRA judging at this moment. No tank on the P42. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I gotcha. 9 by 15 by 25. That would be a little more reasonable, Paul. That would be a little more realistic to fit in the fuel tank. Just dimensionally, that might work a little nicer. I have to take some measurements with my caliper. I have a digital caliper now that is very nice for measuring, but I'll have to take some measurements with that. All right, so let's see. Let me pull up. Paul sent me measurements at some point. See if I can find them. In their Steam range of speakers. Okay. I'm gonna try and find. Scroll. I just gotta be careful not to scroll too far because I know it wasn't that long ago that I had to measure the seat for the bell. Just see if I can find them. Did sound with a Digitrax board, never again. All DCC, no sound, and then you'll have sound in the repeater RDCs, and you do sound in HO. Yeah. Digitrax is just... It's not great. It doesn't really excel at anything, and it kind of falls apart on things like the sound files and things like motor control. So I don't know. It's like I said, it's just what I had. I'm gonna try and make it work for as long as I can because obviously I'd prefer that to over needing to completely replace the decoder. But Cameron and a few others are trying to get them to judge 3D prints as scratch build, but that's up in the air too with buying from companies that print them versus printing them at home. Yeah. So my understanding, Adam, is that if you do the 3D design process yourself, and if you document that in the same way you would document the construction of a physical model, or at least to a degree, and show photographs of your stages of the process, screen grabs of your stages through the process, my understanding is that certainly 3D printed parts and potentially 3D printed large pieces are are up for grabs in doing your modeling. And getting it judged. I don't know beyond that, but that's my understanding. No, I just had the message. Where did it go? There it is. So 1.5 square foot, or 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet. So actually, it's like 1 3/4 square. No, 2 1/4 square feet. But 1 square foot by 1 square foot is the important thing. Paul, I don't know if you have it handy, but if you do, and you don't mind, if you could try and guesstimate how deep the bell slot is. It looks like it's maybe like 4 scale inches. So if you can't quite get a better measurement than that, then that's fine. But if you can, that'd be perfect. I need my pencil. No, I want the sharp pencil. There it is. Perhaps try ESU drop-in sound, but that's not a right now endeavor. Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at right now with sound. Sound for me is not a right now endeavor. I have enough projects on my hands as it is. Where did my locomotive cradle go? This is probably a job for that. Put it on the shelf down here? No. Put it on my layout? No. It's probably over here somewhere. Give me 1 second so I can go grab it. I see it. I saw it. You'll get it for me for another time. Yeah, no worries. For now, I'll just kind of sketch it out and do the start of it. Just try and flatten down the nose a little. Give me a second. Where did that... I just saw it. Where did that foam cradle go? Hang on. Did I put it under here? No. Where did I swear I just saw it. I thought I just saw it right here. What? I mean, I guess I don't need it per se, but it would be pretty useful right about now. Especially since I know I have it. Alright, well, that's not... I'm not gonna go crazy looking for it right now. I swear I just saw it here. Whatever. Like I said, I'm not gonna go crazy looking for it right now. I should do P42 decoder and shell swap. It's been on the bench for 5 years. Swapping the old shell for a new one as it's the one of the runs that Kato got the wrong blue color. Yeah, that makes sense. It's so frustrating because so many of Kato's colors are just like, they're off enough to notice, but they're not so far off that you're like, I've got to change it immediately. Just like, well, I guess it's okay for now until I can get around to it. At least that's how I look at a lot of the Kato models. Luckily, for the few Kato models that I have right now, they're okay. You know, the early phase Amtrak stuff, they're pretty good. So I can't believe I don't know where the cradle went. It's really frustrating to me. All right. Well, that's something else I can do, is I can start marking and eradicating the existing handrails, because we're going to completely redo all the handrails with or grab irons rather, with some of these guys. Where did my pencil go? Oh, there it is. Pardon me. Where'd my helping hands go? Use one of those to set up the model, and then I can measure it and mark it without having to worry about trying to hold it at the same time. There's my line. There we go. Okay. What do I need now? File. Where did my files go? Oh, there's that file. That'll do at least. Well, I don't really want to start with this file. This is good for getting in the corners, but I'd rather... Oh, there's my file set. Fell down. I guess this one to start? I don't know, it's kind of hard to figure out what I want to do to start this process here, because I don't want to... Oh, there it is. I was like, where did the shell just go? It's up on my helping hand. You know what? Actually, let me put it back on the helping hand. That's probably the best way to do this. Actually, I think there was a better file. Where did I put it? It was out. It's not in here. It's not this one. Well, actually, this one will do. So the real work has officially begun now. There's no going back. That's pretty good. Oh, I'm off. Oh, no, I'm not. Okay. Okay, so now that I've gotten that flattened out, I might actually have to go to my Dremel. I think that might be the best way to eat into here. Just to go carefully in with the Dremel. And just chip in a little bit. Pull my speed all the way down. Let me start with the cutting tool here. Cutting wheel. And now let me swap to my more of it. Let me swap to this tool maybe. And sounds good, Garrett. Thanks for coming and tuning in. Always good to have you. Careful. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, it's starting to get to that point here too, Adam. The one thing I don't really like about fall is it means that the nights start to get longer and the days start to get shorter and the dark comes much earlier. Uh-oh. Went a little too deep. Busted through. Okay. Well, that's good enough then. We'll stop there and let me get some putty. Where did my modeling putty just go? There it is. Feels like it's past midnight. Yeah. Yeah. Some modeling putty in there. Vallejo putty. Use this to just kind of clean that up a little bit. A little bit more. That's something else I might try to do. I don't know for sure, but I might try to see if I can bring these markers to light or get these markers to be lit. That's going to be an endeavor though. Alright, well that'll do that for now. Now we will go ahead and turn to some computer stuff. Digitrax and SD40-2 sound decoder. Let's see if we can figure out what decoder it is. It's not the Series 7. I know that. It's the series before. It's whatever the one before that is. Pardon me. Can I... Hey, Canadian Locomotive Logistics, welcome to the stream. Good to have you here. I've been working on my SD40-2. Retired products, there we go. My SD40-2 in N scale, which is going to be decorated for my fictional railroad, the Balfour and Colucci Creek Southern. Here we go. There's going to be the final product. That's my paint. It's going to be a low hood. Basically, the story is that in the 1970s, the railroad, which is an all 4-axle road for the most part, decided that they wanted to test out some 6-axle power. So they went in with the Chicago Northwestern Railroad. And when the CNW was putting in one of their orders for SD40-2s, the B&CCS tagged two locomotives onto the end of that order. So the B&CCS units have all the same spotting features as the CNW units, including the most obvious, which is the nose-mounted gong bell, which I just kind of did some work on the shell to get the spot ready for the bell. It also has a... Ooh, don't want to do that. Undo. It also has right here, there is going to be a beacon light right at the rear of the cab, as you can see here. So we've got that, we've got the crank style brake gear instead of the wheel. So this is... Yes, I have been on your stream. For anyone who doesn't know, Canadian Locomotive Logistics has a really neat thing where... actually, let me pull it up, because it's cool. Canadian Locomotive Logistics. We go to here. And then we go to... here. And then we go to, I think you have it as a link in your description, correct? Yes. Basically, you go to this link here. Go to... Oh. Let me try getting rid of the out too. I'm clearly going to the wrong thing here, because I know it works. Ah, I'm going to Sparky's. Oops. Okay, well that's good to know. How did I... I did not know that Sparky's was available. That's actually sick. But basically, you go to, you go to live, you go to... Ah, there it is. There's yours. So, on your live stream here, you go to the link right here, which is the graphics user interface, and you basically drive the train. it's really awesome, and I highly recommend you folks to check it out. He's got a full graphics user interface and everything that makes it very easy to drive, and it's a lot of fun. And you're driving around on his layout at any time of day, and apparently Sparky's during the day. Sparky 107 107s. And it's just really cool, so I highly recommend you folks check it out. But in any case, let's get back to what I was working on, which was it this? I think it was this. Let me highlight that. Let me scroll through. Make sure. Was it the 144? I think this is the one that I have. View product details. But yeah, so thank you, Canadian Locomotive Logistics A, for popping into the stream and stopping by. It's good to see you and chat with you. But also thank you for having such a cool thing available online. It's really sweet. Decoder manual, V1. Is this what I'm looking for? I don't know if this is what I'm looking for. I think I might need to go to V2 of this. Let's see if I go to this one. Yeah, of course. I always love to, you know, my whole thing, the whole reason that I do YouTube, is to share my love of the hobby, and to, you know, share everyone else's love of the hobby alongside them. And what you have is super awesome, and a great way to it's a great way to test out and try out different model railroad stuffs. And it's just a lot of fun, and I like to share when people have cool stuff out there. So, you know, I'm happy to toss it out there. If I know of anyone who wants to put their layout up online, I would be happy to help them out. Yeah. I don't know right now off the top of my head. I don't know if anyone whose layout's really set up for that. I think this is also the wrong document. I might need to do an instruction sheet. But if I think of anyone for sure, I'll direct them to you. Because what you have set up and the way you have it set up is awesome. Oh, here we go. Front LED, left track pickup. Ah, okay. That's what I needed. Green, F1. And that's the common. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I found it, Adam. Thank you. Okay. So that means that on this decoder, if I'm looking at this correctly, and of course it's, well, I think I can rotate it, right? Ah, much better. Now I can actually read it instead of having to twist my head. Okay. So I can probably replace this cap with a better capacitor that I have. Okay, so that's the common. And that's F1. Okay, I could... Honestly, I might be able to put a LED on that right now. Do I really want to screw with that right now, though? Not at the end of the stream here. But that's really good to know. I'm glad that I found that. That makes that easy. I might just print that page before I go to sleep here. But I think I'm actually going to start wrapping things up. If I just... I'll bring us back to here for now. So basically what that told me is that for my beacon light, I'm going to need to put the black wire there and the red wire coming here. Now zoom in. I wish I could. This camera can zoom, but it's, as you can see, for some reason, half the time it delays. And I don't know why. And also, it just is in general a poor quality camera. But this camera can't zoom, so I can zoom like this, though. So this this contact pad right here, that's where the negative goes. And this contact pad right, where am I? Right here. That's my common negative. So I need to connect my black to there. Or no, my red to there. My common positive. Right, common positive, red to there, black to here. And then the beacon light will be basically right here. And while we're zoomed and focused in this close, let me actually pull this cab up and see if you can... Oh my gosh. Why did the white balance just explode? Alright, forget that. That's not going to work. For some reason, the white balance just absolutely obliterated everything. But, there we go. Oh, zoom on the PDF. Ah, okay. That makes a little more sense. Oh, well. In any case. That's what we're looking at. There's the decoder board. Alright, so let me quickly reassemble the locomotive so we're at a basic starting point for our journey. Nope, this goes on second. This goes on first. And this. Ooh, don't do that. Don't bend. Go into the slots. There we go. Now this. Yeah, this capacitor, I think I can definitely replace with a better one that will also act as a keep alive. Because this is just too big. It's too bulky. And then the cab. There we have it. There is our blanked out SD40-2. Oh, Canadian Locomotive Logistics. I'm from New York State, down in the U.S. Dutchess County. So about an hour or so north of New York City. But here we have our starting point for our B&CCS SD40-2. As we can see, I flattened out the top of the nose for the bell. And now we're not focusing as we should. But there we have it. Stripped all the paint off. And it's ready for all of my little detail parts that I have lined up here, ready to go. We've got the plow. We've got the gong bells for the nose. We've got the grab irons. We've got the beacon light. We're gonna get some. I'm gonna see about what would go into. What would go into making some MU cables from scratch, and if not, then pick up some detail parts for those. I'm going to see what goes into scratch building. I'll see what goes into scratch building handrails and see if I want to do those. But that's kind of where we're at. I'm very excited to be finally really digging into this project. It's a project that I've been slowly building up towards in my mind for several months now. I think like June or something. I would have been good to go. Or I started figuring this out, so now I'm good to go to start working on it. So, yeah. Canadian Locomotive Logistics, nice. That's sweet. Yeah, London's not too far at all. Ontario is, I mean, yeah, that's not too bad. Not too far away from me at all. But do they have super caps available for me in my scale? If you mean like, I mean, I guess I don't know what you mean by a super capacitor, but they have like keep alives and things available in N scale. Yeah, I have actually. So this one, the one that's in here is 100 UF. I don't know what the UF stands for, but I know it's UF. It's a capacitance or whatever. 100 capacitance units. I have literally right here, ready to be wired in, the Iowa Scaled Engineering Runnin' Smooth, which is 940 capacitance units, and it's smaller form factor, so it should fit a lot nicer. So I might honestly do that tonight, but after I pop off stream, because it's a matter of unsoldering the leads to the existing one and soldering new leads on going to this. But I don't know. I'll figure that out. But in any case, I'm gonna wrap the stream here. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Thank you for watching. It's always fun to have you folks here and have some good chats with y'all. It's always a good time. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. It's good to chat with you, and I will see you guys all on the next track. Have a good one.